Hello, good night. This is U.S. Immigration Attorney Sharifa Tharpe. I'm here live to take your U.S. immigration related questions. Go ahead and put your questions in the comments now. I have great news right here at the law firm. We had a very big victory today, and that is our client was released, granted bond by an immigration court today. And that reason for this is because we were able to show the court that our client has relief that they need to pursue and need to continue to work on. And our client was released on bond. So first of all, what our client did right was our client. So as soon as we found out that our client was detained, we were able to act quickly and submit a request to the court for bond to be granted. And of course, there are specific requirements you have to show for bond to be granted. So, two of the main requirements are that you have to show that your client is not a flight risk, meaning that if they are released, they will not, take off and disappear. They will go ahead and comply with all the court hearings and requirements. And then the second requirement is we have to show that our client is not a threat to public safety. Of course, we were able to show those two requirements, and we showed it the way we showed that our client was not a flight risk was the fact that our client has relief available that we're in the process of applying for our client. So, our client, the judge did take that into consideration. And because of that, our client can now be with his family and continue with process to get relief here in the United States to stay legally here in the United States. So, here's another reason our client didn't hide in the shadows. Our client took action, and because of that, we were able to take quick action to help our client and get our client back on track. That's what our firm strives for. We stand up for our clients, even through the complexities of their situation and the current situation. It also shows here, everybody, that due process is alive, right? We went through the court process. The judge made a decision, made a fair decision based on what we provided to them. So if you are hearing from other people saying, that due process, the courts are not going to work. Here's a situation where the court worked, and we're seeing that across the country with the high profile cases. So we did see, for example, we saw today that a green card holder who went in for a citizenship interview was arrested at a citizenship interview and detained by ICE. They were going to revoke his green card. Well, a federal judge ordered his release, and he's now released. So we're seeing this across the country. In Florida, here, the federal court has extended the hold on that Florida law that criminalizes undocumented immigrants. So once again, they have to comply with this court order, and it is working. So due process is alive and well. And if we fail to believe that we have rights under due process, then it goes out the door. That right goes out the door. We have those rights, but we have to exercise those rights. If we don't exercise those rights, they will disappear. We will be conceding to what is happening here, to the goals of getting rid of due process, if we do not exercise those rights. Yes, it means that we may go a harder road. It means that, yes, we're going to face challenges as we go through sometimes the slow process of court litigation, but it is there, and it is there as that last resort to help us and help our clients to be able to exercise their rights. All right. Let me know. I notice, let me see on Instagram, it's a little bit quiet. I'm not really seeing many questions. Go ahead and put your questions in the comments, and I will go ahead and answer your questions. So put those questions TikTok, Facebook, YouTube. I'm here. And what I usually do is go across the platforms and answer questions across each platform. Thanks so much for the love. And once again, go ahead, like, subscribe, share on TikTok. Go ahead and tap the screen, share the live, because this is how other people are going to get information that's going to empower them through their immigration journey. So go ahead and do that now. So, questions. Let's see. Hi there. It's nice to see you. I see you said good morning. It must be morning where you are. All right. Okay, so I see here. Is it safe to travel on a tourist visa? So, if you have a tourist visa, it means that you can travel into the United States. You just have to make sure you're complying with the terms of the visa. What I would say is some of the main issues when it comes to traveling into the country with a tourist visa is they're asking, are you coming here with the intent to stay? Right? So, are you at risk for overstaying? Are you coming here to work? Or is there anything in your background that now makes you inadmissible or ineligible to come into the United States? If and I'll tell you some red flags they look out for when they're evaluating whether you are fall under these risks. So they look to see how long you've stayed in the past. What's your past pattern of travel? If they see that every single year you're coming for 6 months, then at that point, they're going to have the suspicion that you're coming here to work. That is the number one thing that issue that arises when your stays are very lengthy. They can start to accuse you of working. And what they can do is then take your phone, take your devices, look through them, and see if they can find anything that supports their suspicion that you're coming to the United States to work. The other is, are you coming with the intention to stay? So sometimes, if they notice that you're traveling with every single important document you need, so they may have the suspicion then that you are coming to stay. And you need all those documents, you're taking all those documents to come here and possibly go through our process to stay permanently. So you want to take these risk factors into consideration. Another pattern is if you come for 6 months and then you leave for a week and then you come back for another 6 months, that is going to get you into trouble for sure, because they're going to read it as you're a non-immigrant. That means that you are somebody on a temporary visa trying to actually live here in the United States by coming here, staying for lengthy times, then going back to your home country for a shorter time, and then coming back again. So, and then other things, if there's anything new that comes up in your background, so they are evaluating social media accounts, they can do that by asking for your phone. And yes, at the airport, they can search your phone. Even though we do have the Fourth Amendment right, where they need a warrant to do a search at the airport, they do consider searching the phone as a reasonable method of searching, right? So it is within the authority of the government to search phones at the border. So it's a little less stringent. The Fourth Amendment right is less stringent at the borders. So they can then take your phone, take your devices, and search through those devices. So that's how they can gather information that can support their assertion that you are coming to work, or you may be inadmissible if they find something about an arrest record, or unfortunately now they are looking at even your ideological views that you state on your social media. They're looking at those and determining whether that's against the national interest. That's the newest thing now. Getting green card holders on this. They're saying you are a national security risk. And because of that, the government is arguing that they have a broader discretion to deport based on national security. Of course, this issue is being litigated in court because it is infringing on people's First Amendment rights to express their views, their political views. So, but unfortunately, when you do have a visa, and you are coming from outside of the country, you do not have the same rights as if you are in the country. If you're physically in the country, those constitutional rights apply. But if you're outside of the country coming in on a visa, then that's where it gets murky in regards to any constitutional right. uh, you don't have a constitutional right to enter the country, and it is not a right. The visa is not a right, it's a privilege. That's basically the summarized approach, and that has been the approach across governments. It is not a right, it's a privilege. And so they can use your political views against you in cases like that, where you're outside of the country and outside of the purview of the First Amendment right to free speech. All right, so I hope that answered your question. I got my green card approval letter. Just want to know how long it will take to get it. So I would say two weeks. If it takes longer, then that's where you need to check on it to see, did they produce it? Is it sent? Is it true Trump cancels citizens to give green cards through marriage? Trump canceled citizens to give green cards through marriage. No, that's not true. That is going forward as usual. What happens to your asylum interview if you're on pretrial diversion? Great question. So this is where you definitely need to have an attorney and get personalized legal advice, because pre-trial diversion, it can be construed as a guilty plea and a conviction if under certain circumstances. So say, for example, they said you plead guilty. If you plead guilty, then we will go ahead and put that on hold. We won't sentence you. You're going to go through a diversion program, meaning we're going to watch to see how you do over the next year. And then at the then over the year, you don't get into any trouble. At the end of that year, they then dismiss it, right, and dismiss the entire case, maybe with the guilty plea. Under immigration law, they do find that as a conviction, so they're going to evaluate it as a conviction. And if the crime or the offense leads to inadmissibility or deportability, then you have a problem. Then, under other circumstances, a diversion means that without a guilty plea means just that you were not convicted. But this is where it's so important for us to talk, because this is what we have to do. We have to go and run your background check. We have to get all your court records, your police report. Then we have to look at the statute under which the arrest was made and the charges. Then we have to compare it, look at the statute. What does it say about the type of offense that you're charged with? And then we have to determine whether under immigration law it can lead to inadmissibility or a permanent bar, or whether you can get a waiver, forgiveness if it leads to inadmissibility. So as you can see, it is very, we need more, we even need more than half an hour to talk to you about that. So give us a call, talk to us about what's happening, and let us advise. And this is another very important thing. And here's what I want to also stress here. I know the idea of getting an attorney can feel daunting, but it is worth it, because even my client today, we got good news. It was my team that came together. We had three of us as attorneys coordinating, strategizing on defending our client and getting our client relief through bond. It is, and this is because getting relief is not, sometimes it's not as simple, right? And I would say here, if there's any time you need an attorney to work on your case, it's going to be if you have a criminal offense in your background, especially now. And here's where it's going to benefit you here, and where a team of attorneys can benefit you here. If you're currently represented by your attorney, whether it's a public defender or it's a private attorney, your criminal attorney can work with the immigration attorney to understand the immigration consequences involved. And that can guide your criminal attorney to make the right decisions about your case. So they can go and possibly negotiate a plea deal on your behalf that brings the charges down from something that may be more serious to something, a charge that may not lead to inadmissibility. So as you can see, it's sometimes, in order to get through the process, you need multiple attorneys that are strategizing. And the people that have been most successful when it comes to complex matters like this have been clients that understands the dynamics of that, and the fact that it's going to involve a whole team. And I'm proud to say we delivered for our client today, and we were a whole team. It was my entire team that came together to make sure that we did this for our client. All right. I got my green card approval, so I answered that. Good night. I just want to visit my kids. Haven't seen them for 5 years plus. I'm sorry. And it just depends on your circumstances. You can always give us a call and talk to us about what your circumstances are, and we can see if there are any options that we can help you with. Now, if you do have your green card already, or your travel document, then at that point it's really about evaluating the risk. And here are the main categories. It's not an exclusive list, but what I can say based on the pattern of this current administration, here's what they're looking for that places people at an increased risk. But you always have to get legal advice yourself based on your particular circumstances. But the first is, do you have a criminal record? Whether it's 20 years ago, whether it's 2 minutes ago, do you have a record in your background that's going to raise questions? Anything criminal, it's time to call an immigration attorney. And also make sure you have access to a criminal defense attorney. Those two are very important. The next one is, have you been outside of the country or traveling outside of the country for more than 6 months in a year? If that is the case, then they could possibly construe that as abandonment of your green card. So the next time you travel and you're coming back in, they can look at your travel history and determine that you've spent too much time outside of the United States. And so they're going to send you to immigration court to take away your green card. So be very aware of the length of travel. Do not be traveling outside of the United States for more than 6 months, and it should be shorter. I would say don't risk it, but don't exceed 6 months in a year. If you're going from 2-year green card to 10-year green card, then you do have the right to travel as a green card holder. But if there's any complexities in your case, if you've been issued a removal order in the past, if you've been issued a removal order because your application to go from a 2-year green card to a 10-year green card was denied, and you were then sent to immigration court, and now you're waiting to apply before the court again for the 2-year to the 10-year, you definitely need to make sure you understand the risk of that, because they're in the process of taking away your green card unless you can defend otherwise. So you want to be very careful. And then the last pattern that I'm seeing, which I'm sorry to say this is the case, And I am not telling anybody to refrain from exercising their First Amendment right. But what I am saying as the attorney here is I do have to also let people know about the risk, the pattern that's happening, and activists. So if you're a green card holder and you are very much involved in activism, then you have to understand that if it goes against what this the position of this current administration, then they are targeting people and saying it is that they're revoking based on national security interest, or it's against the national interest of the country or the foreign policy position of the country. And so they argue that you are a risk to the country's security, so and national interest. So it's very important that you think about these categories and determine whether you could fall under them. But it's not an exclusive list. And if there's any question, if there are any questions about anything in your background, then it's you definitely need to get legal advice. All right. Do you think it's a trap with so many interviews being scheduled now? So we are not hearing about we're not hearing about widespread arrests at interviews, but the risk is higher if the person has something in their background. So if they have been issued a removal order and then they go to an interview at the USCIS, they are definitely at a higher risk. If there's a criminal record in their background, that's pending. Yes, and unfortunately, pending criminal records are getting people detained by ICE. So it's pending, or there's a conviction. Then you definitely need to understand that there's an increased risk. And it does put immigrants between a rock and a hard place because the interview is usually the final step to getting relief. But it could also mean that an arrest could take place. So in a case like that, you do need to make sure you talk to your attorney. Your attorney is going to know you best, and they're going to know whether what those risks are. My visitor's visa is expiring next year, May month. Can I still go on vacation this year? So I wouldn't be able to tell you in particular, but if you still have a valid visa, you should be able to travel on that valid visa. Not probably not last minute, So if for example it was expiring this year, June, and then you're trying to get into the US with that visa in May, they may have some questions because usually they look at the 6 month validity of the document you're using to enter the United States. So you just have to be aware of that. And the additional risk. Travel overall is down coming to the US, and I think it's because of fears right now of losing visas, and it is a valid fear because of the how they're screening immigrants coming in. If you married a US citizen and they file for you, how long it take for you're in Jamaica? So I would say a year and a half to 2 years. So it is a while. It takes a while. When you're outside of the US, expect up to a 2 year process. Does age affect affidavit of support even if not filing taxes together? Age should not. But what I would say, where age counts is if you have dependents and the dependents are 21 or over, they no longer have to be a part of the household size. The house, right, because they are not considered children anymore or dependents. Are green card holders safe to travel? So green card holders do have the right to travel. And for the most part, I would say a vast majority of people probably will be able to travel and not have any issues. But once again, take into consideration those four risk factors that I just mentioned. Any criminal offenses or immigration violations in your past, no matter how long ago, that's going to be an increased risk. Are you an activist? Are you advocating for controversial issues right now, like, for example, Palestine, or any kind of position that opposes the U.S. government? That can be an increased risk, unfortunately, even though there are some questions about, not questions, I mean, I think there is a really good argument. And I think that argument is ultimately going to prevail, that immigrants who are green card holders, once they're here in the US, they do have First Amendment rights to speak out against certain political views. But in the meantime, people are going through a lot of hell right now. Activists are going through a very, very hard time because of the activism in the past. So that is one. If you're going from 2 year to 10 year, you just have to make sure everything in your application process is good. You don't have any removal orders in your background. And then, if you're a green card holder and you've been outside of the country for more than 6 months, then you need to be careful as well. Is it safe to travel domestically with tourist visa? So if you have a valid tourist visa and it's current, everything is good with it, then you should be able to use your passport with the tourist visa to travel. It shouldn't be a problem. And the TSA, going through, they don't usually even look at your visa. They look at your identity once you're traveling domestically in the US. They usually just check your initial identity. I mean, if they have questions, they'll probably flip to the visa, and who knows, over time we may see changes there, but they usually have to move things along very quickly. Can we travel on VAWA advanced parole internationally? Travel document is there for travel, but I'm being very conservative with my clients, and I'm telling my clients, do not travel unless it is an emergency, unless they have evaluated the risk and said it is worth traveling despite the risk. So give my clients the option. I say are the risks. I strongly advise you do not travel, but ultimately, if for example, if my client uh, has a dying relative, even a parent or a child that they need to urgently see, who am I to tell them don't use the travel document to travel? That's what it's there for. But at the same time, as a good attorney, I have to just let them understand the risk so that they can make an informed decision. Is it true that you no longer get a SSN with work permit? So this is, I can see that, yes, and I've been seeing that myself. However, do not worry, because it doesn't mean it. When you say no longer get a SSN with a work permit, what was happening before is they would kindly send the SSN to us in the mail separately from the work permit. It doesn't come as one package. But what has been happening is, and even during the previous administration, the Biden administration, if we didn't get the SSN within 2 weeks, we would just tell our client, okay, here's the Social Security office, go ahead, contact them, bring your work permit, bring all the documents to show you've been approved, and they will order that SSN for you. So I believe what's happening now is you have to go to the SSN office and get the Social Security that way. My visitor's visas expire next year, May. Can I travel? So I answered that. Can we travel in advance paroles? I answered that. Thanks so much for the love. I appreciate it. Go ahead, share the live, like, subscribe, hit the notification bell. That's how other people know that this information is there to empower them. And I am here. I think For we're on day 4 of this week, and I'm aiming to be here every day from Mondays to Fridays. So let's keep this streak up. You can travel in the US with you passport of your own country. So yes, my VAWA applied January prima facie come, February medical done, April and when work permit and travel document will come out says 6 to 12 months. Do you ever take personal time to talk to your clients? Yes, absolutely. That is something that I pride myself on. Absolutely. Um, My husband, a US citizen, petitioned for me. He submitted I-130 first. We got acknowledgement letter. He submitted work and green card form since 6 weeks now. Yet we have yet to get acknowledgement letters. Fine. So, I'm noticing they're taking longer. So it's I'm seeing 2 to 12 weeks. But what you can do is always make sure you're tracking your packages to make sure that it did get there. And then if it did get there, it means they have it. It's probably just long processing time, or you may get a return packet. They may reject it. That's another pattern I've seen in the past. So, if push comes to shove, sometimes you can track it by calling them, and they will take the time to search for the package, but that might be very time consuming. Are you able to speak on the new law they're trying to implement in Florida? So yes. So the new law in Florida is, and which the court has blocked, by the way. So there is now an injunction on that law, and they cannot enforce it. But what it does is it criminalizes undocumented immigrants. Not every undocumented immigrant. For example, immigrants who've overstayed a visa, they do not fall within that category. It is for individuals who entered the country without inspection. So they cross the border without permission, or they came by boat. And if they're found coming into Florida and they cannot show that they came into the U.S. Legally, they can be charged with this crime. And the crime comes with it. I believe it is misdemeanor, I think, or felony. I think it is a felony. It does rise to the level of a felony, and there is a mandatory sentence of 9 months. So now the judge is definitely saying that this law appears to be unconstitutional, and while we're going through the litigation, they're going to put a hold on the law. Um, so it is, and it is a scary law because it means that, people, first of all, on the federal level, immigration has not been seen as criminal. Even though people are being treated as criminals, it is not something that typically goes on your record just by being undocumented. Um, but that's what Florida is trying to do. Is they're trying to turn this into a type of situation where your people are being criminalized for being undocumented. Here's the other danger. Even if you did not come into the country without permission and you came in with a visa, you could get caught up with charges, because what happens is the police just decides, if you can't show the police officer any legal status, I can so see where people who do not understand immigration law, they do not understand the difference between an immigrant who crossed the border without permission and an immigrant who overstayed their visa, and how the law applies to one and not the other. I can so see where police officers would arrest somebody who overstayed their visa and charge them with this, and they still have to go through the process, the criminal justice system. That, keep in mind, even judges, right? The judges in a criminal court are not privy to immigration law either. So then this could then turn into a domino effect, a disastrous domino effect for any immigrant that if whether they've overstayed or if they've crossed the border without permission, going through the criminal justice system, without law enforcement and possibly some judges understanding how to apply the law and to which immigrants to apply the law. So right now it's on hold though, thank God it's on hold, and they cannot, even though they did violate the law and they did arrest even a US citizen under this criminal law, um, they have now stopped because a judge called them out on it as well and said, why were they still arresting people when she had put in an injunction? Any updates on the bona fide determination? So it's still going slow, and that's across the board with everybody that we're noticing that. My wife, a green card holder, she filed an I-130 for me. I'm Jamaican. It's 1 year, 6 months, still nothing yet. What's the timeline to wait? So I would say if you're outside of the country, you're looking at about 2 to possibly 3 years, because there is a wait list that you have to, wait. It depends on, I think you said a year and some months, still nothing. So usually you could expect a decision on the I-130. Usually I've seen them within 9 to 12 months, but it could go a little over a year. My husband, a US citizen, petitioned for me. He submitted the I-130 and later submitted the I-765 and I-45, but over a month now, we have not received any letter of acknowledgement from USCIS. So yes, we're noticing a slight backup, and it varies, but I would say 2 to 12 weeks right now for receipt notices. If you're concerned, if you're really concerned, you need to call. If you've been tracking your package and it got there, then it probably means that they're just backed up right now. Can you please throw a light on how the motion to reopen and reconsider process is like, and how long does it take? So, usually with this process, you have to first, sometimes you go to opposing counsel, you ask if they would like to join a motion to reopen. And in this case, though, it's requesting to reconsider, not terminate. In some cases, you can ask to terminate or you can ask for reconsideration of the decision. And it really depends on what has changed since then, and the way it goes depends also on what opposing counsel wants, whether they join the motion or they oppose the motion. Sometimes that can happen as well. To go through that process, you're looking at about a year to a year and a half process to get that considered. All right. If I applied for SIJS program and I'm 20 now, would they still accept my application? And when will I get the green card? So the SIJS is a multi-step process. So if you got a predicate order from the court and it depends on the state. Some states allow you to even get the predicate order when you're under 21. I believe Minnesota, California are two examples of states that do allow issuance of a predicate order to someone who is under 21. But a vast majority of states say 18. If you're under 18, you can get a predicate order, which designates a guardian for a child. If you're under 18, you're considered a minor. So a minor who has been abandoned or abused by at least one of the two parents, right? And they have to be designated a guardian. At that point, once that is issued, it's usually issued by a state court, not immigration court. Then the next step is to go and apply for SIJS. You need to submit that before the age of 21. So if you're at a step where you've already gotten the predicate order at age 20, you're still able to file for the petition for SIJS. And then after that, you can pursue your green card. Right now, it's on hold for the green card because they have run out of visas for the visa numbers for them. But comes October, they'll probably have an allotment of visas available again to move forward with the green card process. So it's important to take action, make sure you're aware of everything. All right. Is it safe to apply for citizenship under this administration? I would say you definitely need to approach it with caution, but don't let it stop you from getting citizenship. If you qualify for citizenship, you should go for it. If there's anything in your background that can disqualify you, that's where we have to talk to you in a private strategy session to determine whether it's a good idea, whether it's not, what the consequences would be going forward. My husband, a US citizen, petitioned for me, so I think I answered that. I have an interview tomorrow. If I had a speeding ticket last year and took a class to take care of it, should I mention it during the interview? I would. I would. Here's the deal. Make sure you take everything with you. Take the final disposition of the court, maybe approving the fact that you've completed classes. Take all of that proof you've paid it, you've paid the ticket, take that with you. I have had situations where even though it's a traffic violation, they still ask for the document. So take that with you. And just to ensure that you are what I say is this. Now, keep in mind, Lewis, here's a very important point. I'm not your attorney. And I can't give you legal advice specifically. If you have your attorney, you need to defer to your attorney. And this goes for everybody, right? So would I would, in a situation where just based on these facts alone, it wouldn't hurt to have everything ready and to make that known to the officer and then have proof to back it up that it was a simple speeding ticket because they're going to ask for that information. However, it really comes down to what's the totality of the circumstances involved. What um what else, what other facts are there? Have you had 10 other speeding tickets? That may right. That's where it's important to make sure you talk to your attorney. But make sure you prepare those documents, have those documents ready, just in case. All right. So on Instagram, go ahead. So I see here. Hi there, friends on Instagram. Do they still give social and working permit to asylum seekers? Yes. Yes, they do. Please, how long does it take for a change of address after an interview date has been sent? Change of address is usually instant. You can use the AR11 form, and then you'll get a confirmation email that you did the change of address. Is it advisable to travel with advance parole to Nigeria? As I said before, I would be very careful about traveling. It's nice you have the travel document in case you have an emergency that you really can't avoid the travel, but at the same time, we have to be very conservative now about travel. What if you miss your immigration court? Can you file appeal to reopen the case? Yes, that is a possibility, but definitely talk to an attorney. I'm on F1 visa, but didn't enroll to college because of my father's health condition becoming worse. I put my asylum case. Do I marry with a US citizen? Well, here's the deal. Do you marry a US citizen? I think it sounds more simple than it really is because who can just pick up a spouse off the side of the road and get married, right? So I that's a very, very personal question. Do I marry a US citizen? You Marriage is not really about convenience, it's about a choice. And is this somebody that you want to build your life with? Do you even have someone that you want to build your life with, that you want to get married to? If you do have somebody like that, then marrying a US citizen, I mean, in addition to having the benefits of building a life together and having a genuine marriage, then the added benefit is yes, you absolutely would be able to get your papers. I mean, when I say absolutely, I mean, in generally, someone who is married to a US citizen, even if you have an F1 or you overstayed your F1, can still get their papers through the US citizen, a spouse. But is it as easy as just saying, I'll just marry a US citizen? It's not that simple. Now, what we do here at the firm is we help clients to understand that there are options available outside of marriage, but we have to understand your circumstances. And it sounds like you had a lot going on. So if you would like, you can always give us a call and we can talk about the possibility of marrying a US citizen if that option is available. But we can also do an initial evaluation to see if there are other options we can help you with. Oh, thank you so much. Loving old school. I appreciate that. What if you received a waiver, 5-year visa? Yeah, so the waiver should be fine. Should I-485 filed from August 2024 be taking so long? Yeah, it can. It can. It just depends on what's going on in your case. Can I run a business as an F1 student? No, that's considered working in the US. Um, but if you want to talk to us about, what exactly that means, because if you passively have a business, you're not working in the business, but you have passive money coming in, then maybe it may be different. So we have to talk to you. But starting a business while you're on F1 is considered working. And if you're restricted from working, then it's going to be a problem. All right. And then let me come here again. I'm on TikTok again. How long is it taking for I-485 after I-140 approval? So I would say anywhere from 6 months to a year after you could get that approval. And also depends, is your medical already in? Are they going to issue a request for evidence to get the medical? Had both interviews 1 month now. I-130 approved, but letter came that interview was canceled. So I don't know if they are scheduling a second interview. If the I-130 is approved, usually they're okay with the I-485 being approved, unless there's something missing, like the medical or the affidavit of support. If I forgot one paperwork, would I be denied? It's possible. If that one document is required, then it could lead to a denial, but I don't know what documents and what kind of application you submitted. What's the processing time for I-130 form permanent resident filing for child 21 and over? So I would say it could take anywhere from 2 years to 3 years for an approval on the I-130, and then 5 to 7 years to actually get the green card. Because after the petition is approved, you still have to go through the national visa. You still have to wait for your priority date to become current. That can be a wait time of 5 to 7 years. And then after that, you have to work with the National Visa Center to get documents in. Then after that, they will then schedule you for the interview. So it takes a while. If I have EAD and I want to apply for a job, will it be E-Verify qualify if AOS is denied? Yes. So they are going to, um, if the employer does the I-9 process, then yes, it's gonna show that it's no longer valid. So what you're saying is they can't arrest people anymore. They can't arrest people under that Florida law criminalizing undocumented immigrants. Yes, that's right. For right now, they can't do that. But please do not mistake the Florida law with ICE detention. Can still um, ICE can still work with ICE can still work with police to be able to arrest immigrants, right? But the court has put an injunction on the criminal charges aspect of the law. But ICE, that is still moving forward. They're still doing raids and still, searching for certain immigrants. So that is still in place. So we're talking about the Florida law, which is not allowed right now. I have filed EB3 visa, but there's a backlog. Can I still file for green card via marriage? Yes, it's possible. You can have those two going at the same time. If I have EAD and I want to apply for a job, yep, so I answered that. My marriage is not working out, and my wife asked me to leave. What can I do? The first thing you need to do is definitely give us a call and let us talk about what's going on, because there may be relief for you. So, even though you may have to leave the house with your spouse and become uh, separated, it doesn't mean you have to leave the country, because you can apply for relief on your own. But I need to understand what the circumstances are with your spouse to determine whether the both of you would be able to, whether you would be able to seek relief outside of the marriage based process. All right, all right. Can an undocumented immigrant travel to Puerto Rico and return? So if it's going to be risky, it's going to be risky. Can we travel domestically with EAD? Yes. Yes, the EAD can allow you to travel domestically. Can you help with consular processing? My mother is in Mexico. Absolutely. Just give us a call and we can talk about your circumstances, and then we can definitely move forward with strategizing and getting to work. Uh, I've gotten my interview schedule in 1 month, filed October 25th, 2024. Um, okay, that's great. And I don't know if it's a marriage based process, but all the best. Good luck. Make sure you prepare and know your application. Another thing here is you really going into the interview. I'm going to give you a tip here. Know your application. I know it might have been a while since you filled it out, and there's so much information on there. But that is also what the officers are doing now is they're going line by line and they're asking you questions. They expect what you say to match the applications. So just know your application, know what's in there. Don't make sure none of your applications are going without you thoroughly reviewing your applications so you know what's in there. Right now, with VAWA cases, they are now doing interviews for VAWA because they had so many of these corner store, immigration, so-called immigration specialists filling out fraudulent VAWA applications and sending it in. And sometimes even the clients didn't understand that these were untrue applications. They just trusted the people sending the applications, saying they will get their papers, and they just thought, okay, they're doing it the right way. And now they are doing interviews as a result of that. So that's where now they're going line by line, making sure that you know what's in your application. So for example, if somebody submits an application and you allow them to submit it on your behalf, and they put something in there you have no clue about, and you go into that interview, and they start to pick up that there's information that's not true in that application, then you're facing misrepresentation or fraud, which is a permanent bar and possibly more severe consequences. So just be aware of everything in your application. When I send applications in, I look at it as my clients are there. My clients are going to be involved. It's very collaborative. And at the end of the process, we make sure that they thoroughly review their applications so that they have input on what's in the application and whether or not they agree with it. So make sure you agree with everything, and everything in the application is true and correct. All right. Okay, I'm gonna just do one more search on Instagram, and then I'm gonna head out, and I'll be back tomorrow. What you can do: like, subscribe, follow, hit the notification bell on YouTube so that you can get notification when I come on, because I don't have a set time just yet. So I come on when I can. And tomorrow's Friday, so it would have been the 50th. So I would have done Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and I'm aiming to keep doing that. So make sure you do that. Like, subscribe, follow, hit the notification bell. So when I come on, if you are available as well, you can join me and ask your questions. And also share the live. If you want to watch replays, go to YouTube. All the live replays are on YouTube. At the name of the channel is Getting the Green Card, and it's all one word: Getting the Green Card YouTube. Go there and you'll be able to see all the videos. So if you're on TikTok, or you are on Instagram, or I know Facebook as well, by the way. Facebook also, we have the lives there. You can hit ST Law Office, so S as in Sam, T as in Tom, Law Office, and you'll be able to find our page. You can follow the page there, and then you'll see all the recordings of the videos there as well. So either platform, either or both, you can watch replays there. All right. So let me answer these last questions here on Instagram, and then I'm going to head out. I want to file for my boyfriend. Is there any way I can talk to you? How can I reach you? Go to the link in the profile on Instagram. Go to the link in the profile. You'll be able to go to the website and fill out the form there. And you can also DM us. We have a staff 24/7 talking to clients. We're all, as a team here at ST Law Office, we are all invested and doing everything we can to make it as easy and quick as possible to get in touch with us. So go ahead and you can, contact us through DM, contact us by phone, and the phone number is going across the screen as well. So go ahead and do that. If I got approval for an I-130, how long should I expect approval for I-485? If there's anything they're waiting on, like the medical, they may issue a request for evidence for the I-485. So I would say, give it maybe another 6 months before, things start to come together with the I-485. It just depends on what else is pending. Can I file for myself if I've been in the US since I was a child? I went to school here. It depends. We do what we do. You can give us a call, and then we can ask you some questions to see if you qualify for relief that you can apply on your own. Coming here as a child, I know you probably and you endure went through a lot, and we'd want to know what your circumstances are. Uh, so go ahead and contact us, and you can contact us at the number below. We answer 24/7, or click on the link and get to us that way. If you have 5-year waiver, I have had several over the years. Is it okay to enter for short stays as normally would? So it depends on what's in your background. There are risks now. I would say it's a heightened risk, uh, but for the most part, a majority of people are going to be able to still travel in, right? But you're still going to have these risky situations. If you fall within a risk factor, that's where you need to make sure you're very careful. How long for receipt? T, I would say 2 weeks to 12 weeks. Do they still give social? Okay, so I answered that. All right, everybody. Thanks so much for your time. Um, let's see. So what I'm gonna do is answer questions tomorrow again. So go ahead and just go ahead and join us tomorrow. Now, if you have a personal issue, particular issue, you know you need to know your options. That's where you need to give us a call. We can do an evaluation first, and it's confidential. Everything with us is confidential. That is the foundation of attorney. Our responsibility as attorneys is confidentiality, and it is ingrained in the law. You cannot violate confidentiality. So give us a call. We're a safe space for us to talk about what you're going through, what options you want to look at, and then we can advise and then get to work. All right. Have a good night, everybody. I'll see you tomorrow.